Good morning. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to the TEAAS for having me. I'm Ava Bender, and I received my bachelor's degrees in art history and anthropology from the University of Florida, and now study themed environment integration with UF City Lab, Orlando. After growing up in the theater, studying art history, working as a live entertainment lighting tech, and working in a venue with a pipe organ, I was drawn to the history of where art meets entertainment. And when I came across Mary Holl Greenbal's light art, her technical writing on the subject, her creative technical writing on the subject, hooked me. I am excited to introduce you to my research on Mary Holl Greenewalt and light-colored playing. The inventor-artist Mary Holl Greenbal developed an artistic practice for a creative live performance in the medium of electric light, which she named Nourathar. She was born in Lebanon and then based out of Philadelphia. She had notable ties to the DuPont family, was voted into the Illuminating Engineering Society, and was a delegate for the National Women's Party. She was a successful piano soloist before turning to visual arts to explore the performative potential of lighting. Motivated by emotion, she became an electrical engineer and was an early innovator of lighting control technologies, culminating in her Cerebet console and the electrical components which are vital to performing Nourathar, the fine art of light-colored playing. Hallock-Greenewalt asserted that her light art should be classified as a fine art, but her actual practice of Nourathar draws it into the popular successes of entertainment. While I'm sure she would appreciate the recognition of this event, I don't think Hallock-Greenewalt would approve of being included in a symposium about attractions and amusements. For Hallock-Greenewalt, adhering to the modern distinction of official arts shows her aim to elevate her work within the elite, serious spheres within which she was a member. Nevertheless, Hallock-Greenewalt's work entangles artistic concerns with entertainment matters, presenting an opportunity for us to explore the intersections of art and entertainment at a transitional moment of modernity in the early 20th century United States. Since the 19th century, people have played with electric light across disciplines, and today, light-mediated expression is ubiquitous. Still, the history of electric light as an expressive medium has received minimal scholarly attention. Playing with the electric light medium requires integrating its expressivity and technicality. Thus, art and technology innovations co-evolve. Due to its practical and market value, electric light also can't be separated from modern systems of art, entertainment, and entrepreneurship, historically gendered systems. Women have always been catalytic interdisciplinary innovators in lighting, and while industries have made positive advancements, the contributions of women remain underrepresented and undercompensated. Digitized materials from Hallock-Greenewalt's archive and interdisciplinary secondary sources inform my art historical, contextual, and visual analysis. Through further design history research, I situate Nourathar within the contemporary state of light art and entertainment by digitally modeling light-colored playing and lighting and imagining future lighting experiences. From everyday encounters to experimental exhibitions, electric light in the early 20th century inspired everyone from physicists to artists to publics. Multisensory and notable synesthetic modernist trends fostered an immersive experiential turn in artistic expression. Light, color, sound, motion. Since the early 20th century, our lighting experiences have taken the imaginings of early innovators to new extents in lighting's artistic expressivity, technical complexity, and public popularity. Mary Holl Greenewalt's work is present today in the practices and technologies of visual music and later lighting design and VJing. Lighting is a central part of today's entertainment industry and official art exhibitions. Both embrace the performative visual arts that Hallock-Greenewalt advanced. By today's standards, would Nourathar be considered a fine art? Nourathar is a live performance of successive and simultaneous variations in the intensity, color, and position of electric light as it extends into the surrounding space. An artist using the Cerebet lighting console and a number of light fixtures placed around a room would create a flood of light wherein the rhythmic interplay of each fixture's intensity and color output would immerse an audience in a moving composition of non-objective lighting effects. The light color player could perform on stage or off stage, and the lighting could stand alone or be accompanied by other performed arts. Since there are no surviving Cerebet consoles, nor digitized imagery demonstrating a Nourathar performance, this is an imaginative digital model of how it might look today, based on a combination of Hallock-Greenewalt's descriptions, recommendations, and other media. Hallock-Greenewalt's technological innovations were motivated by emotion. To practice Nourathar, she invented an art-making machine, the Cerebet lighting console. The key to light-color playing is balancing control with freedom. So Hallock-Greenewalt made careful decisions in the form and in the engineering of her console to accommodate light's capricious nature. She attended to the player's touch, ensuring her controls were capable of a nice adjustment to the strength of a man's or women's hand, and to the individual taste of either. Her patented Cerebet console doesn't simply control dimmers. It allows artists to directly play upon her patented rheostat, to control the feel or the flow of the electrical energy, to play smooth time variations in light intensities. She also included fluid switch actuators for interplaying the circuits of many light fixtures. And her patent specifications also featured integrated pre-visualization notation systems, motorized moving light fixtures with motorized color wheels, rudimentary automated playback, and motor-actuated switches, and many more things. The capabilities of lighting consoles have drastically changed since the earliest 20th century. However, consoles are still designed to support the artistic play of light. Today, lighting consoles such as the Grandam A3 use Michael Adeno's patented light adjusting panel with touch sensors, which is a slider control that uses electrically conductive plastic for tactile sensing of the user's touch to automatically trigger programmed actions such as fading. Whether using the Cerebet or a Grandam A, the necessity of a live performance and a live experience persists. In the early 20th century, new forms of public social entertainments, as well as avant-garde artistic movements, featured lighting and live experiences, which was blurring the lines between high art and popular culture. Nourathar must be a live performance so that it can be a shared experience. HallockGreenewalt sought to share an intellectual, aesthetic, and healing experience through light, building on the values of experiencing art as entertainment. Such novel experiences require appropriate spaces, which has been realized through the range of entertainment architecture we have today. Hallock-Greenewalt was steeped in entertainment architecture and environments as a performer of classical music and Nourathar, and further by her participation in World's Fairs. At World's Fairs, light and social identity were on display as spectacles, and Hallock-Greenewalt performed and presented at several. For Nourathar, Hallock-Greenewalt imagined that lighting experiences would require the construction of proprietary venues for popular art consumption. An ideal performance of Nourathar would take place in a specular, egg-shaped venue, engrossing the viewer's full field of vision with lighting effects, the aim of many of today's most popular trending venues. Yet, in practice, Hallock-Greenewalt's known performances of Nourathar took place in venues such as the Egyptian Hall Auditorium at Wanamaker's department store, looking at a World's Fair's logic to stage her charming, feminist, self-orientalist, inventor-artist persona to perform her work and promote it. After leaving her pianist career, Hallock-Greenewalt invested in her own vision. She began presenting herself at work in portraiture from the 1910s on, and spotlights female artist technicians within her patent documentation. She began presenting herself at work and was perceptive of how she was received. She understood that reception was a vital component to the commercialization of her work. She styled herself to reflect both her modern intentions and her romanticized notions of her heritage by tapping into the trending Orientalist aesthetics of appropriated by early women's movements and modernist artists. Looking the part, Hallock-Greenewalt modeled the possibilities of the new woman by following up with the media to ensure they also represented her status as an inventor. And in protecting her patent rights, Hallock-Greenewalt affixed her work to related technologies and performances, which in turn generated renewed media attention throughout her life. Publicity, especially in entertainment, is a necessity in our media-saturated contemporary world. Her determination to be recognized and compensated for her work is most clear in the successful patenting of her oeuvre, which we saw a list of some earlier. And by the end of the 19th century, some expanded opportunities and rights for women encouraged them to pursue intellectual property rights, and there was a precedent of female artists and inventors obtaining patents in recognition for their innovations. Hertha Ayrton was a British engineer and inventor. Loie Fuller was a modernist artist who also innovated with lighting, and Jean Rosenthal, which is incorrect on the slides, but she was a lighting designer and pioneered the industry. By the end, Hallock-Greenewalt patented, published, and she litigated as a self-preserving move towards obtaining compensation and establishing her credibility. While Hallock-Greenewalt was granted patents for her inventions, she also contended with the efficacy of the patenting process and with the ethics of her corporate collaborators. So she sued other artists and businesses for infringing on her claims, including General Electric, Westinghouse, and several theaters. Hallock-Greenewalt argues that her electrical components were appropriated without compensation by the manufacturers like Westinghouse and General Electric that she commissioned. While often legally unsuccessful, Hallock-Greenewalt also used litigation as publicity. She staged her losses as wins for her ideas and for her notions of lighting, and thus she strategically inserted herself into discussions of related issues. Whether or not her inventions, ideas, or visions were knowingly co-opted by others, her innovations are thus closely tied to the successful commodified productions. No matter the legality of her originality, Hallock-Greenewalt did envision and realize a unique, complex system for the control of electric light sources by integrating the latest in electrical engineering, art, physics, and live music. Inventor-artist Mary Holl Greenbal understood lighting isn't simply something to passively apply to our everyday or even our spectacular experiences and encounters with arts. Lighting itself is a powerful sensory experience that can be choreographed to shape and embody our perceptions and feelings. Have you experienced light color playing, and would you like to experience Nourathar? Thank you all so much for being here, and I'll take any questions now.
I have a question over here. Go ahead, Vince.
Hi, thank you so much. I want to say to start off with, I'm currently trying to figure out what my thesis is going to be on, and this has been extremely helpful already, so thank you so much. I was curious what you thought of artists like Jen Lewin, who work on more interactive lighting exhibits. I mean, she did a Light Heart, I believe, and she does a lot of touch interactive lighting, so it's less environmental, I guess, but more physical in that sense.
Okay, sure. What's the artist's name again?
Jen Lewin.
Jen Lewin. Okay, I don't know if I've heard of Jen Lewin, but that sounds really interesting. So I think that when you are able to actually feel, you're saying you can feel the lighting in the exhibit itself.
Yeah.
I think that that's like taking it to a whole nother level, and now we have more technology that can make the lighting fixtures themselves also something to interact with. I think that today we can do a lot more with lighting, and even experiences like projection, mapped experiences, and interactive things, video wall, and all of that. Like that's all like very much still there's light controlling that. And, I think that's another level of light that we can play with today. Yeah.
just to give some more context, her light heart, you can put your hands to stop the light from hitting the ground, and where you hit that, it'll trigger a sound. And you can basically like play an instrument with just like, lasers and lights and stuff.
Sure, yeah, that sounds incredible.
It's really cool.
Thanks for sharing that.
So, did she actually, in her performances, did she have performances that did not include music? Did she always have music going along with her performances?
Right, music was not a necessity of her performance. She believed that you could just go to a show and see just the lights, and that was enough for you to have a full emotional experience. But a lot of her performances did feature other performed arts. So sometimes she even would perform at churches during sermons. She would perform at the department store, so there they have a pipe organ, music could have accompanied. I'm not really sure. There are not a lot of details on her actual performances, unfortunately. But yeah, she liked the fact that you could have other performance mediums all coming together and kind of creating those multisensory experiences. Thank you.
So,
We've got one in the back and we can
thanks so much for a super interesting presentation. I'm curious about the extent of her success enforcing her patent rights, because there's a very interesting gendered story to be told about the use of IP here, where on the one hand, by providing sort of legitimation and validation, IP could be a mechanism for overcoming gender bias against female innovators. On the other hand, to the extent that the legal system prevented her actually from doing anything with these rights, then that says sort of something about the limits of gender notions in that era when it came to actual legal enforcement. So curious sort of how successful she was.
Right, sure. So unfortunately, she wasn't very successful in all of her litigation, and I'm still tracing down more specifically some of the legal matters. But in a lot of her cases, when she ended up getting it into the courts, and while they would support her arguments, usually they supported her fact that she had come up with this like lighting conception of lighting, and they never really addressed the problems, or they never supported the problems of her equipment being used. And I think part of that was that she had done a performance of it before, in a public performance, and so there's a statute that limits that in that case, and so she wasn't able to be successful in those cases. But oftentimes, like, the judges would recognize her efforts, and so she would publicize that. I think there a lot of the legal documents. I only have been able to find like her copies of them and things like that. So it's difficult to actually trace down the what actually went down. But there's some thoughts that someone has mentioned in literature, although I wasn't able to find their source. But they mentioned that one of her cases was brought and she appealed it because in the original she discussed like that there was gender discrimination involved, and in the appeal she still didn't win, but they did recognize her in it. So I'm not sure. I'd like to look more deeply in the legal matters. I'm not a legal professional or have never studied that, so it's definitely a new field for me, and I'd really like to learn more about it. Thank you for your question.
Let's hear it for Ava Bender.